When I'd seen my friend's fallen head that day, I actually saw the face coming toward me. It was neither my executive director nor the section chief. It was
him. What's going on, Presidential Gang? It's Mr. President, man. What's good, boys? What's good, and welcome back for some more scary stories, man. What's good, boys? What's good? So last time we spoke, right? I told you guys that I would do another scary story on the weekend too. So you guys already know what to do, man. Go get your snacks. Go. I'll wait right now. Go ahead. I actually got some snacks with me, not just water this time. So I got some coffee. Got some trail mix right here. So you guys already know it's about to be a good one. You know it's about to be good when I actually have snacks, bro. Like, not just water. All right? So this is where we left off. 27. Oh my, why does it keep doing that? It's 27 horror stories, animated compilation of September 2020, man. My friend was possessed by someone in front of my... Hey, you didn't do nothing?
This happened to me when I was around 14 years old. I was at a sort of religious class located far from our main school building. I was drawing my cartoon characters, waiting for my teacher. However, an hour had passed, and he didn't come. One of my classmates went out to see what was wrong, and it turned out that our teacher didn't arrive yet. So we had to wait a bit longer. After she told us that information, we continued waiting. I started drawing again until one of my friends, Aina, suddenly pulled on my sleeve and whispered, "Something is wrong with CT." I looked at CT, who was sitting at the back with the loud group.
Who's CT?
She wasn't saying anything or
She looks sick.
Well, it was quite weird seeing her like that, because she was the one who always talked a lot in that group. And then I saw that she was holding a small piece of black cardboard and a pocket knife. Since we had an art class that day, I thought that she might have been doing her homework at first. But I froze when I glanced at her the
Why would she
second
be
time.
doing homework with a pocket?
She
Oh!
Carving something on the cardboard, and
She going
very
in.
aggressively. I couldn't see what she was carving, but she then woke up, went outside of the classroom, and stood there staring at something. Aina poked my shoulder, signaling that I should check out CT's cardboard. So I sneakily went to her seat to grab the piece of cardboard she left on the table and went back to my seat.
What did it say?
As soon as we flipped the cardboard over, we got goosebumps all over our bodies. Something was written on it. The words meant
I don't know.
we didn't disturb them, they disturb us, in our language. Aina and I looked at each other. When I got up to return the piece of cardboard, CT was already in her seat and stared at me with a scrutinizing look on her face. I sat down and slid the piece of cardboard under my desk.
She's gonna look for it.
All of a sudden, I had the sudden urge to know what the heck was going on. So
Bro, sit back
I got
down.
up and went towards her with Aina. "Hey, CT, how's it going?" I asked.
Don't talk to her, man.
She didn't answer my question. Then I could hear Aina whispering the Lord's Prayer, and my fear alarm started buzzing again. Then Aina tried to talk to CT, but for some reason, she suddenly shuddered. And I knew the reason.
What happened?
CT started to mumble the exact words that she had carved onto the cardboard.
Get out.
But
Just get out. Get out.
Her voice changed. She sounded like a demon. Her voice was deeper
no,
and lower than a man's,
fam.
and
You
her eyes
gotta
simultaneously
go.
started to
Oh!
turn white. Her mumbling was getting louder, and now she began to scream while shaking her whole body. Everybody in the class
Yo, what's wrong with this girl?
Watched what CT
Just
was
leave,
doing
bro.
with fear. Before long, CT suddenly stopped, dropped her face slowly down on the desk, and began to sleep. I quickly returned to my seat and tried to take out the cardboard, but it was not there.
Call your parents.
I
Tell them to
searched
pick you
all
up.
over the classroom, even inside of the bin.
Someone's getting
but
possessed.
it was gone.
Help me! Help me!
The next morning, I went to CT and asked her what she was doing in class yesterday, and she replied, "Oh, I was sleeping during the whole class." "You sure?" I asked again, but she said yes, nodding her head. Was my friend possessed? Could it be real? And what she told me next made my face turn white and my heart drop. Oh yeah, while I was sleeping yesterday, I was at some church, and I saw a very beautiful stained glass window with a nun. I wonder who that nun was, though.
Nope. You got me effed up, bro. When you move out to get
This is the story that happened to me a few years ago. I was
Wazzy.
studying for the civil service
Come on,
examination.
bro.
I came up to the big city to study, and while I was looking for the house to stay, I met one house owner. The middle-aged lady was so kind, and the rent price of the room was extremely cheap in comparison with the price at that time. All of my friends opposed and said the price is too cheap. They also told me to reconsider it, but my mind was urgent, so I just made a contract right away.
You guys saw him?
My friends opposed and said the price is too cheap. They also told me to reconsider it, but my mind was urgent, so I just made a contract right away.
Chill out.
The room was pretty big, and the window was also wide enough so that I was satisfied with my room. But a few days later, a strange smell began to come up from under my bed.
Oh my god, there's a dead body
At
in there,
first,
bro.
it was endurable, but the odor was getting worse, so I couldn't sleep at all in my bed. I eventually begged the owner and ended up moving to the next room, which was far away from this room. Since that day, whoever moves to that room, they all moved out again because of the smell. A few people visited in a few days, and I heard the conversation between those people and the owner while they were taking out all the stuff and removed the wallpapers in the room. "Ma'am, we had told you that it would stink. If you'd have done what we said last time, well, you'd have spent less money."
Uh-huh.
And then she answered
Tell her.
embarrassedly, "I didn't know it was going to be like this." They then began to remove the floor, change the cement, and finally changed the whole room completely.
Damn.
Until then,
Let me move
I
back
thought we
in.
were just remodeling the house. But after I heard the story of the room from the other people who lived around here, I eventually realized that I was totally wrong. It is said that a few months ago, one student committed suicide.
A few
in the room.
months?
And the owner at that time, she ignored the cleaning company's word that she had to reapply the cement to remove the smell that had seeped into the floor.
Oh.
So she just chose wiping off the blood of the body by reason that it was expensive. The cement looks hard just by looking at it. But because of the porosity, it's known that the cement has lots of small holes like sponges. But what if someone was murdered or the dead body was left unattended for a few...
So why does only the smell come out at night? You know what I mean? Like, why do you only smell it at night? That's what I don't get. Shouldn't you, before you even go and rent it out, and you know you're inspecting it, you walk in, you see if you like it or not before you actually buy it, shouldn't you have already picked up the smell?
days? When the blood or such thing flows downwards, it starts to rot inside and then
Hold up, boys.
In addition, if the dead body is left unattended for a few days, the waste begins to come out and the fat flows out when it starts to decay.
I'll throw this
Like
away
the
later,
blood
bro. I'm
and
not
the
eating
waste
that.
are hard to clean, as you know.
Y'all be nasty with y'all.
As soon as the
it's
smell
only
penetrates
3
through the
seconds,
concrete
5,
hole,
4, 6,
you
7.
will
And
not
I'm
be able
switching
to get
hands
rid
too.
of
I'm
the
eating with
bad
this
smell
hand.
no matter what you do. Therefore, it's said that cement should be removed altogether
I ain't trying to die
because
out here.
the smell would not be gone of this kind of house. Although I wasn't staying in that room at that time, I kept feeling uncomfortable, so I eventually ended up moving a while later. I would like to say this to those who are currently looking for the new house.
What?
Even if a newly plastered house smells, or if you found any signs of partially cement floor, especially when the house is old, be careful. Because I'm sure that something would have happened in that house already.
I don't know, man. It's kind of creepy. Tell him, though. 3 short, scary stories. The picture and the mountain cabin. Yo, what's
This
up?
happened to my older brother.
What's up?
When he was a college student, he joined a mountain climbing club. One day, he went climbing in the high mountains located in South Korea with 3 of his club members. The mountain was so high up that they couldn't climb all the way up in just a day. So they decided to stop by one of the mountain cabins in the mountainside and take a rest. It was a 2-story cabin, and unfortunately, the electricity
Do you guys own that?
was disconnected that day. Well, you know, people usually don't go to sleep early on days like that. So my brother and his friends drank a lot of alcohol.
So hold up. So you and the boys go on a hiking trip. You plan to crash the night in a random cabin that you found while hiking. Drunk. No direction of where you guys are going.
Do some stupid shit like this. Where is your dad? Where is your mom? Where is your family?
Do you guys see what the problem is?
Turned on a flashlight and accidentally lit it up towards the wall. On the wall,
Ew,
there were
bro.
framed
Why does it look like the
pictures
same
of
person
the
instead of
first,
changing hairs?
second, and other mountain guards. Everyone was giggling because of the face in one of the pictures. Then they fell asleep. The next morning, when my brother woke up, he noticed that 2 of the club members had already gone down the mountain, and there was only one left behind.
Oh, what happened
He
to
had
boy?
fainted, and froth was coming out of his mouth. He looked around in confusion, wondering what was going on. He saw something he could not believe. The cabin was surrounded by small windows. Well then, what the heck was there last night if what they thought were photo frames were actually windows?
Damn. My foot above my
When
mom's.
I was a little girl, I was scared of
I'm sorry,
sleeping
guys.
alone.
I'm sorry.
So I used to sleep with my mom. Eventually, I had to toughen up and sleep by myself. Well, this happened when I was in high school. I had a twin-size bed in my room and decided to leave both my door and my mom's door open.
That's a
Our
bad
bodies
idea.
were
That makes it
facing opposite
worse.
directions. I couldn't sleep that night.
What if
So
you accidentally like turn over to see that your mom is there and then you see a giant dark figure, red eyes, like blood like pouring out of his mouth like right above your mom? Like, bro, what? Nah, that's
turned
worse.
on my MP3 player
I'm good.
and was laying in bed listening to music. All of a sudden, I felt a little strange, so I turned my head around, and at that moment, I froze. I saw a person's foot on my mom's body.
I dropped
First of
another
all, if
freaking
someone
peanut.
gets too nervous, it's hard to look around clearly. However, I slowly looked up, and then I saw the face of the person standing on her body. Literally, someone was standing on my mom's body. Well, it was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Do something.
I wanted to turn my head around again, but I couldn't. I couldn't open my mouth or even listen to music anymore. I couldn't take my eyes
that figure
off
turn?
his face. His mouth was stretching and getting bigger and bigger until eventually it ripped.
You
right
see what I
under
mean?
His ear.
You see what I
I
mean?
could see that the inside of his mouth was all red. I wanted to wake my mom up somehow, so I gathered up enough courage as I could.
Just scream, bro.
Mom! As soon as I yelled, everything disappeared like smoke. She ran into my room, hugged me, and reassured me that everything was okay.
You
I
think?
was leaning on her now, so that I could calm down. Soon after,
think everything's
I put
okay.
my earphones back in and turned on my MP3 player. And that moment was really crazy and just plain scary. All of my files were gone. I had around 300 songs on the device, but all the songs were erased
Oh, man.
for no reason.
That goes as like, bro.
I couldn't
You
sleep at all
scared
that
me
night
off?
and still felt bad
Alright,
even
I got
after
you.
waking up the next
I got you.
morning.
You
So I
prevented-
ended up
you
breaking
prevented
my
this haunted?
MP3 player.
I got you. Oh!
Well, why did my music files disappear?
A mysterious wig.
I used to wear a lot of wigs for my job. One day I needed a short bob cut wig, so I bought one and kept it at my house for a while. But then, something strange happened.
What happened?
The next day, my mom suddenly came into my room and said this.
Oh my God, qué muchacho tan malo tú eres. Pero malo de verdad. Yo no sé qué es lo que tú tienes ahí. Tú no tienes un corazón, tú lo que tienes es un palo. Porque tú planificas mi destrucción.
Hey, why do you keep calling me?
She looks messed up
What are you
already. Come
talking
on,
about,
man.
Mom? I haven't called you once. I replied to her, but she insisted that she kept hearing my voice. It was kind of weird, but soon I ended up thinking that she was just hearing things or hallucinating. A few days
By the way,
later,
if you guys want to
while
double
I was
upload
eating
tomorrow,
dinner with my
smash that
mom
like
and
button.
watching a TV drama, we heard a small voice. Mommy! What the? I stood up, and what made things scarier was the voice sounding exactly like mine. At first, I thought I misheard it, but I kept hearing the
Bro,
sound.
focus more on
I
your
grabbed
mom.
my
She
mom's
okay, no, her
hand,
eyes are
and
normal
we
now.
followed the direction the
She
sound
looked like
was
she was
coming
like
from.
zombified,
As I was
bro.
getting closer to the shoe rack near the front door, I realized the sound seemed to be coming from it. It was at that moment. Mom! The loud sound in my ears surprised me so much that my
Oh, girl,
heart
you gotta
almost
dip.
dropped. Well,
You gotta
eventually
dip.
I went back to my room and fell asleep,
Nope.
failing to reveal the cause of the sound. That night, I had a dream. In my dream, little girls were jumping rope and moving in slow motion, like in a horror movie. I couldn't see their faces because the children's faces were all blurry as if they were covered by fog. However,
Man,
as soon
they
as I
covered by
tried to
that
reach
wig
them,
that you always
they looked
keep.
at me at the same time. At that moment, I had no choice but to scream. Their fronts and backs were all covered by a bob cut hairstyle.
I knew it.
Well, I had the same dream for a few more days.
Oh
My
man,
mom
get
and
rid
I
of that,
concluded
bro.
that there was something wrong with the bob cut wig that I bought. Eventually, I burned the wig.
Good.
And
Finally,
strangely enough,
finally, someone with some common sense, bro. People just either throw it away or just forget about it, like put it in the attic or put it in the closet, bro, and they just forget about it. They're like, you know what? It'll get better, all right? It won't affect me in any type of way. 3 days later, boom, they die. Finally, someone has common sense to burn it, bro.
everything returned to normal after I burned the wig.
I had the most horrible experience while doing Amazon delivery. Y'all already know,
My
man.
name is
Reading
Nicky
getting
and I'm
better.
19 years old. This past December, I got myself a Christmas temp job working at Amazon, helping with deliveries. It gets pretty busy around that time for deliveries, obviously, because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
Right away, I hated
Okay.
the guy I was helping with deliveries. His name was Frank.
Can we just appreciate that this beat is fire, bro?
To describe him, he was a bit overweight, didn't shave well, and his hair was short. I didn't like him because he was very rude and seemed like he was in a bad mood all the time. And I would be in the van
That's
with
how
him
all
most of the
managers
time
be,
making
bro. They always
deliveries,
be in
and
a
it was
bad
very
mood for
awkward.
some reason.
I tried to make conversation with him, but like I said, he was very rude. And there was no point in trying after about 2 times. I thought about quitting, to be honest, or at least be with a different delivery driver, but I didn't want to cause any trouble. I was a temp after all and needed this job. I thought Frank was really rude and socially awkward and not a nice person to be around, but I never thought he would harm me in any way. One evening after finishing deliveries,
you mean harm
we
you
were
in any
driving
way,
back
bro?
to the
He
Amazon
harmed you?
warehouse, or at least that's where I thought we were going. Frank passed the turn where we always go to the warehouse. As I said before, we didn't really speak, so I wasn't about to question him. He would probably snap at me anyway. After he continued driving, the more obvious it was to me he was taking me to another place,
Ooh.
and it wasn't the warehouse. I finally asked Frank where we were going. He didn't snap at me, surprisingly. He just said we needed to run and do a quick errand. I was looking
Yeah,
around my
right.
surroundings, and I could see that
better
we were
roll
around
out
empty
like in
fields and
GTA.
abandoned farmhouses. At this point, it was getting dark outside. Frank then pulled up next to a tall, overgrown, and unkempt cornfield. He said to me in a very firm voice to stay exactly where I was. Don't move. Frank then got out
Where
of the
is dude
car
going?
and started walking up into the dirt road, disappearing into the dark of night.
Is that his house?
10 minutes went by. I sat in the van by myself in the dark and had no idea where I was. My phone was in the warehouse in the locker, as we weren't allowed to have our phones during work hours.
Oh, come
So I
on.
couldn't
You
even
can't,
go
you know
on my
you can't be
phone or
trusting
use it as a
that.
light source. I needed to pee and
You
couldn't
going
hold
out
it
if
any
you
longer.
work outdoors.
So I got out of the van
Gotta
and
have
headed
a
into the
phone with you,
cornfield to
man.
do my business. After doing so, I started to walk back towards the van. In the near distance of the cornfield, I could see flashlights. Two, in fact. I found that really odd, as the whole area seemed to be abandoned. As I got closer to the van, I could hear a sort of heated argument going on between Frank and another man whose voice I couldn't recognize. I couldn't see him either. I heard the other man say, "Where is she? You said she was in the van." Frank then told the man that she was just in there, and she has to be around here somewhere. The other man said to Frank, "If we don't find her, you're a dead man." That's what those flashlights were.
He was gonna sell
Those men were
her.
already out in the cornfield searching for me. I snuck off into the field, walking quickly but as quietly as I could, the whole time crying and thinking I was about to die. After walking far enough, eventually leaving the cornfield, I ran down the side of a long dirt road. I have no idea for how long, but eventually I came across an old diner which was still open, thank God. And the manager called the police for me. After this incident, I quit my job. But this wasn't the
Shoot,
end of
I
it.
would too. I would
About
sue
2
them.
weeks after quitting my job,
I work a day
I
in
got
my
a
life.
call from my boss who employed me.
You already know.
He told me that I was the last one to see Frank, as no one has seen him since. Apparently, there were rumors that he owed people money from gambling debts,
Typical.
the people you don't want to be in debt with. As much as I don't like to think about it, I'm pretty sure
Good.
Frank's way
That's
of
what he
paying
gets.
off his debts with those people was to hand me over to those men. And what those men had planned to do with me, I never wanted to imagine.
Me either, bro. He was probably doing that to everyone. The mysterious woman in a white dress.
My cousin used to work at a police station, and this incident is about one of his colleagues' experiences. One day, he received
So
a
it's not
call from
your
a gas
story, it's
station
a
worker
friend
that
of
he
a
had been
friend's.
robbed, and the robbery escaped shortly before he called the police. He asked the worker if he could describe the suspect, and to his surprise, he said that the person was in fact a woman with a white dress, and she has very long dark hair, and also she was beautiful, he said. At first, she came to ask for help because she got lost in the middle of the night. So I went to the office looking for my boss and told him what had happened. We then went back to the cashier together, but when we came in, she was no longer there, and all the banknotes were also not in the cash box. Since he was the only one on duty that night, he headed to the spot of the incident right away.
Okay.
As he drove toward the gas station, he soon entered a darkened section of the highway that was surrounded by forest. He was driving in the middle of a gloomy highway until he noticed that a woman in a white dress with a very beautiful looking was walking along the road in the opposite direction.
Nah, fam.
He passed her
What we
accidentally, so he
Okay,
began to slow
good.
down the car and turned to check again if she's the person that the worker had described to him
Do
before.
that, bro.
Then he turned the car in her direction, stopped next to her, and got out of the car immediately. "Ma'am, I need you to get on the car right now." As they were driving to the police station, he asked her some basic questions like why she had to steal the money or something else. However, the woman didn't
Hey,
say
bro,
any word to all the
I
questions.
ain't gonna lie, that's a little bit too creepy that she just agreed to go in your whip. You know what I mean? No handcuffs, no anything, bro. She just said, "All right, cool.
While she was sitting in the back seat.
All right." I
She
wouldn't
just
trust
looked
her.
at one point all the time until they arrived at the police station. Her behavior was pretty weird, so he thought that the woman might have some kind of mental problem.
Maybe.
He then decided that he would not have any further conversations with her. When they arrived at the police station, they started to investigate her, and all of a sudden, she said that she would return the money the next day if they let her spend a night in a prison cell.
What?
Because she kept insisting that she had nowhere to go, he and other cops were confused by her comment.
How
But
could
they
she
could
ha-
nothing to do,
Look.
actually. So they eventually approved of her
Oh, God.
proposal.
How can she return the money when she's locked in a cell, bro? Like, it just makes it makes no sense. Like, you know what I mean?
Letting her spend one night. The other police then called the gas station and informed the workers that they had captured the person, and they would return the money for tomorrow. The next day, he went to visit the woman they had detained yesterday.
She
However,
gone.
he was stunned as soon as he had arrived at the prison cell. In the cell, they found that her roommate's face was all scratched, and his body was hung from a wall nail. And the bills, which they didn't see yesterday, were all tucked in his pockets roughly. The wall next to him was painted in blood, saying, "I'm returning my debt." What made him even more frightened was that the woman completely vanished. He went to the director, informed this, and they had a search around the area widely, but she was nowhere.
Yeah, she gone. She hit it on you.
Even today, everyone in the police is traumatized by this incident. Now, that's what my cousin told me. How could anyone escape from a prison cell avoiding the cameras recording or anything?
Shit.
Eventually,
You never
they
seen
never
Law-Abiding
found out
Citizen?
what had happened that day. And
There you go.
Where she is now.
Homeboy was still killing while in a cell. 3 short, scary stories. Let's go. Let's get it. My roomie heard something. Ooh.
This is my story. I used to have a habit of grinding my teeth while sleeping.
Yeah.
So I had a lot of arguments with my roommate about this. Of course, I felt sorry for him. So I was thinking about what to do. I finally found out that a mouthpiece would be a perfect solution. I told him in a loud voice, "You're not going to hear anything from today
Y'all
on."
roommates and y'all
I
share
put the
a
mouthpiece
room?
in my mouth and then I laid down. However, he suddenly shook me not too long after. I slowly opened
Wake
my
up!
eyes. The lights were turned on and my roommate was looking down at me with
Oh.
a blank stare.
Bro, you good?
"What's the matter?" I asked. "Something's weird," said my friend. And what he said was that he suddenly heard loud teeth grinding sounds again while he was sleeping. But this time, it was bigger than usual, and it sounded more vivid in his ears. And he finally felt that he had reached the end of his patience. "I'm gonna have to kill that bastard." Literally,
I'm dead.
this is how he felt at that moment. Only thinking about that, he tried to find a knife and put it in my mouth. But it was too dark in the room, so he turned on the light to find it, and then the sound abruptly stopped.
Bro.
You know, when a person grinds his teeth or snores, it doesn't matter whether someone turns on the light or not. But when he turned the light on,
Why are
the
you
noise
looking for a
stopped,
knife?
and when he came close to me, he found that I was sleeping quietly with the mouthpiece in. Then what did he hear? And the next thing my roommate says was, "It just gives me goosebumps. Hey, if I hadn't turned the lights on and found the knife, I think I would have killed you. You know? I'm pretty weird though, but I couldn't think of anything else."
What the heck is wrong with you? The boy in the convenience store.
I don't know where to begin. One night I was working part-time in a convenience store. There was a small warehouse inside where you could place orders and watch the CCTVs. It was so quiet that day that I just went inside and spent time just watching CCTVs. As you see, our convenience store makes a jingling sound whenever someone opens the door. But then I saw a boy on a CCTV.
Nope. Nope.
How's it
Nope.
possible? I didn't even hear the bell ring.
Don't even leave. Don't even leave, homegirl.
In a
Don't.
panic, I
And she
slowly
leaves.
looked out, but I couldn't see the boy outside the window. At first, it seemed like he was walking around in front of the snack bar, but he gradually came toward the warehouse where I was sitting. What the? I was terrified. What the heck is that? Then suddenly a man came inside, but I was already too scared to dare to go out. When he saw that there was no staff inside, he turned around and tried to go out again. But at that moment, I almost fainted when I saw his back. Riding on his back, the boy was staring at me.
Oh.
I was frozen on the spot.
Oh,
And after a moment,
shoot.
suddenly, I heard a big car and tires squealing. He was hit by a car and died right away.
Oh, heck
Well,
no,
I still
bro.
don't know what I saw that day.
Yeah, see that? That literally gave me goosebumps.
Let me tell you about my grandmother.
Yo. Is she missing a
she
finger?
doesn't have one finger on her hand.
Okay.
When my grandmother was pregnant with my uncle and aunt, she got her finger stuck in the cultivator's motor, and it got cut off.
Ugh, damn, bro. I
Also,
feel
there
sorry
were a
for
lot
you.
of bad things that happened that year, and she had a lot of people who died or were sick around her. My great-grandmother took my grandmother to a shaman's house at the time after finishing her finger treatment. Well, just as expected, as soon as they visited her, she told her about her bad luck and some other stuff. My grandmother was about to go back home because she thought it was literal nonsense. All of a sudden, the shaman stood up and yelled, "Where's your finger?" Her eyes turned white.
What you mean? I lost it in an
no.
accident.
Why did you attach your finger on in that place? My great-grandmother was surprised at the shaman shouting and asked the meaning. And then she answered like this: "That woman's fingers went in her stomach."
What?
Less than a month after leaving the shaman's house, my uncle and aunt were
What is that
born.
supposed to mean?
And when my grandmother saw her babies, she was horrified. Both of them were born with polydactylism, so they
What is
both
that?
had 6 toes each on one side.
Oh.
Well, I still don't believe in ghosts or
What's
shaman
wrong with
stuff,
that?
but that story really gave me the
I mean,
creeps.
doesn't Kim Kardashian have like 6 toes?
This horrible
I found
incident
something
happened
in
when I
the
was
stranger's
15 years
coat.
old.
Why are you
I had
even
a
looking in
doctor's
someone's
appointment
coat,
to
my
check
G?
up on my arm, as I had sprained it a few weeks before. I had to remove my bandages that day, so I was sitting in the waiting room waiting for my turn to see the doctor. Then I suddenly noticed a very tall guy in front of me. Maybe he was about 6'2". He had black hair and was a neat type with a clean-shaven face, and he was wearing a long black trench coat and baggy black tracksuit bottoms.
That doesn't look
It was
like
obvious
a
that he
black
looked a bit
trench
odd,
coat.
but I decided to ignore him as I was often easily paranoid to strangers. However, a strong smell instantly invaded my sense of smell when he just sat next to me. He smelled like he had something rotten hiding inside of his coat.
Ew.
It was so horrible to endure it, and eventually made me feel sick to my stomach. I instantly got up, rushed to the toilet, and then I ended up throwing up. After cleaning myself up, I went back to the waiting room, and luckily that man was gone. My doctor was waiting for me at that time, so I went to her office, and she got my bandages removed.
So what?
I
Did
told
you
her
like
about the
reach in his
man that I saw
pocket?
just before, and she said she'd seen him before too. She thought there was something off about him, but she eventually didn't say anything. Of course, I couldn't blame her, so I just greeted after that and left the hospital. As I was coming out from the entrance and about to walk toward my home, I suddenly heard some heavy breathing in an alleyway next to the hospital. At first, I couldn't see clearly who it was because of the shadow, but soon after,
What's
I
he doing?
realized
Girl,
that he was
homeboy
the
look like he
same
going
man that
in
I
on
had
a
seen in
Big
the
Mac,
waiting
bro.
room. He didn't leave. What should I do? I was terrified. However, there was something strange about his motion, though. I looked more closely, and I could make out him biting on a severed arm. And that's when I realized that it was the source of the stench I smelled in the waiting room. I almost screamed, but
Oh,
held my
man,
breath as
that's
much
just-
as I could, and then ran down the road to
Oh.
call the police immediately. As soon as they arrived in about 5 to 6 minutes, they knocked him down on the ground to arrest him.
And
I
I'm
figured out
surprised he
later
still
that he
stayed
was
there.
finally indicted on charges of kidnap and murder of people.
Oh.
And because of that incident, I didn't go to the hospital and stayed at my home for a while. I wonder, what if I had screamed when I was there and he found me? Would I have been the next victim that he was chewing on?
I mean,
I think it was a good decision that I made at the time, and I'm just
depending,
glad
bro,
that I'm
'cause,
still
I mean,
alive.
Like, you guys are in a public place. Like, you would have seen him. Like, people would have seen him chasing you. The cake made by my best friend almost.
This incident
Oh, damn.
occurred when I
Really?
just turned 12. It was a big day for me, since we were going to throw my birthday party. Everyone in my house was busy decorating inside. A lot of my friends and all my family members were supposed to come, so I was pretty excited at that moment. Later on, almost everyone had arrived, and I was waiting for 2 girls named Saya and Alania. They were twin sisters whom I just met a few days ago. We weren't actually that close to each other, but I thought they were nice and fun to hang out with. So I invited them the day I met them on the street, and they laughed and said that they would love to come. In fact, I didn't really think about them and forgot about those twin sisters soon, since I was enjoying the gifts I got. A few hours went by. I heard a loud knock on the door suddenly, and when I opened the door, the twin sisters, Saya and Alania, were standing there and smiling.
What you
Come
want?
on in. I greeted them and tried to invite them inside. However, one of the girls said, "We weren't expecting this many guests." At first, what
What
she
you trying to
told
say?
me
I don't have
sounded pretty
friends?
odd, but I didn't think much of it because they were too shy and didn't like being around too many people. So I introduced them to everyone in the house. Everything was fine until that moment. Not long after, they came closer to me saying that they have my present. It was the cake they made. It looked like a normal cake, but smelled really bad. And it looked like it was rotting for a long time. No doubt, I felt disgusted.
Don't trust that,
But
bro.
soon, I decided not to judge by its looks. So I eventually tried
Oh,
one bite.
you
To my
freaking
surprise,
suck.
it tasted really good. I proceeded to eat more and more. But then, my eyes suddenly started to go blurry. The last thing I remembered were the twins' big creepy grin, and that I was dragged by them somewhere. Then I passed out.
You're in your house.
I don't know how much time went by.
No one
But
saw
when I
that.
woke up again, I was in a hospital. I could feel my whole body hurting, and my parents almost cried when they saw me wake up. I was confused and asked the nurse standing next to me what had happened. Then she told me that a lot of guests noticed that I was gone at certain points on that day. They were looking for me, and they eventually found me unconscious
They literally-
and beaten up terribly in our shed.
Oh.
My parents were shocked and immediately called the ambulance and the police. They asked everyone all kinds of questions, but then one of my friends noticed the twin girls were gone too. Eventually, they were found in my attic, hiding behind some big boxes. It was said that they were covered in blood and were smiling widely at the police. It turned out that the girls put the heart and the guts of a dead sheep, some small bones, and even thin, small needles in the cake I ate. And they also put lots of candies, chocolates, and some sweet things, so that's why I couldn't notice anything weird. It is said that the
that's
girls had
just
escaped
wrong.
from juvenile a few days ago, exactly on the day I first met them. Fortunately, I didn't swallow any of the needles, but I had to suffer from food poisoning badly for a while. The
I'm
doc
sorry,
told me
man.
I was very lucky to survive.
But
To
no
this
one
day,
saw you
I
literally
still
getting
wonder
dragged
what would have
out in your own
happened to me
house.
that day
That's
if
what I'm
my
wondering.
family and friends hadn't found me in time.
Nah, fam. Want to see again with 3 short scary stories? The night at the broadcasting station.
I'm in charge of sound editing and audio at one of the broadcasting stations, and this is what I
see you.
experienced the other day. The inside of our editorial room used to get too dark and gloomy, especially at night. So there were a lot of people who said they saw ghosts there. After I joined this broadcasting station, I just laughed when I heard about it. Nah, who believes that? However, not long ago, I had to change my mind. The audio file and film would sometimes disappear every other day. Of course, I was scolded by my seniors because of it, so I worked until dawn to make up for my mistakes. The hallway in the editing room was pretty long, and there was a small warehouse inside the room on the far end of the hallway where the film was kept. Originally, only the people in charge could enter the room. However, for some reason, I kept hearing a squealing sound in the room that day.
Oh, someone getting busy.
I guess someone's still working. While I was editing, I kept hearing that noise. Wondering who was inside, I got up from my seat, came out into the hallway, and opened the warehouse door slightly. And there was someone inside the room. A woman with disheveled
Oh!
hair was lying on the floor, attaching her stomach. She kept making grotesque sounds and crying. She was also frantically pulling out the tape from the film. The scariest
that's
part
green.
was the speed she was pulling the tape out. It didn't
She
seem
messing
normal.
up like weeks worth of
It was
work,
abnormally
bro.
fast, and her
Stop her.
posture was just... She didn't just lie on her stomach. She didn't have a
Oh!
lower body.
Oh!
I ran away from the room screaming like crazy, and the next day I told my senior about this, and the senior who was listening quietly said this. After hearing it, I couldn't sleep at all. Maybe she was looking for the film she had appeared in.
Oh my god,
Well,
bro.
let me
Just
tell
chill
you my
out.
story.
Chill out with all this, bro. Look at that.
I'm working as a police officer. I experienced something really incredible a while ago.
I don't
but
know
no
if y'all
one
can
believed
see
in
that, bro. My
story,
hairs are literally
so I'm
standing
here to
up.
tell you this. Not long ago, my team and I were dispatched on a mountain after receiving a report that there was a dead body there. While we were doing some
Wait,
research
are we still
on
in
the
the same
dead
story?
body, I went closer to it and started to check it out. It seemed like it hadn't been long since he died, and furthermore, his body's condition was really clean. I guess this man probably committed suicide. I was thinking
Damn.
that, but it was at that moment. Not yet. The dead man was staring at me, with his eyes slightly
Oh.
open, and I definitely
no.
saw him saying it based on the shape of his mouth.
Oh no.
He's alive! I saw it! I screamed, grabbed the other
Hell
cops, and
no.
shouted, but soon, I eventually got scolded
Take out
by
that
the
glizzy,
chief,
bro.
and he told me not to disturb the other cops.
Hey,
He
man,
also
chill
told me
out.
that the
My
body's
life in
cardiac
danger.
arrest was checked already. I soon became devastated. Did I not see it? Did I just witness something
Take out that
wrong?
glizzy, bro.
It turned
Don't do
out
it.
that it had been about 10 hours since he died, and the cause of his death was suicide. I started to tell another senior police officer. He listened carefully to what I was saying, and he finally said this. Well, sometimes there are people like you. You know, those types of people sometimes hear the last thing the dead wanted to say.
The finger.
I just heard this from someone I know.
Jeez, bro. No.
One
no.
day, he got up as usual, and then he stared at his
I don't
finger
want
with
to
a
hear
blank
nothing,
expression
bro.
on
I
his
don't want to
face.
hear nothing from the
Why
dead.
don't I have 6 fingers?
What?
Why do I have 5 fingers?
Are you on acid?
Where's the other one? He started to have these kinds of thoughts out of nowhere. He was so worried.
Why do my
and
ears
he
hurt?
kept thinking about
Yanks
it
it
on
out?
his way to work. And he was so scared when he came back home that he burst out crying. However, he eventually realized it only before he came home and was about to fall asleep. Oh, yes. I have 5 fingers, actually.
You're stupid.
A few days later, he posted about this on an online community. Well, of course, most people treated him like a crazy person or just laughed at him. In the meantime, a comment written by one person stuck deep in his mind. The anonymous commenter said he might have early-stage schizophrenia, and he asked him, what if he thought he had 4 fingers instead of 6 eventually? I got goosebumps when I
Okay.
heard that.
Oh!
I had
Oh
a
my
hobby
god, I
of
missed the
capturing
title.
some ghost stories that I found on the internet and putting them one by
It'd
one
be like
in
that,
my
man.
cell phone's album. Then one night, I suddenly had a nightmare. I couldn't move my body at all, and at the same time, something caught my eyes. It was a female ghost
Who the heck?
sitting at my
No!
bedside. She was muttering something while holding my cell phone. And when I looked more closely, I could see that she was watching those scary stories in my phone's album that I had captured, swiping her finger on the screen.
The Wansi scary stories. You already know, man. Shout out to Wansi.
This is funny. This is funny. And this is very funny. This is funny.
The post-it
About a
note.
few years ago, I had a roommate when I was living in the dormitory. She was a pretty famous person in our major class and was known as someone who could see ghosts.
Oh, yeah?
Anyway, I was in the middle of a test period, and there were lots of post-it notes around my desk, which I put to memorize what I had studied. Then one day, my roommate looked at my desk and suddenly told me to take off all the post-it notes right away.
Why?
Wondering why, I asked what was wrong with it, and she replied, saying this: I woke up for a moment in the morning a few days ago, and there was a woman sitting in front of your desk, and she was reading all of the post-it notes you wrote. Nothing could have been more creepier than what she told me. After that, I no longer put anything on my desk. Never.
The letter.
There was once a
That's
man,
scary.
and the world he lived in had been full of devastation for a very long time. He was constantly wandering from place to place. On one night, he was fortunately able to stay in a house. He was so touched and grateful for the kindness of the house's owner, who let him in and offered him a meal and shelter,
man.
especially during a time like this.
Question the house.
The next day, the owner placed a letter in his hand while the man thanked him and was about to leave the house. Young man, if you're really appreciative, please deliver this letter to the town over there. But listen, do not open it when you are on the way. He spoke to
Why?
the man so desperately. The man left the house saying yes. However, on his way to the village, where the owner told him to go, the man suddenly became curious about the
He opened it.
contents of the letter. So he finally opened it and read it on the spot. And the letter was written like this: This is the last food we will send.
Oh! True horror story by Angel of
When I
Death.
was in kindergarten,
That
I lived
is
in an
creepy,
apartment house
bro.
of corridor access, and there lived a family
Good
of a
thing
friend
he
who was
opened it.
always playing with me in the same apartment. Me, my mom, my friend, and my friend's mother. We used to hang out with each other often. Then one early dawn, my friend's mom kept hearing an irritating sound outside the front door, so she woke up and went outside. To her surprise, there was an angel of
Yo,
death
yo, yo,
crawling
yo, yo,
on all
close it, close
fours
it,
in
close
the
it,
hallway
close
in front
it.
of her eyes, just moving back and forth, on and
Why
on.
are you still opening
And that
the door?
irritating sound that she heard was the sound of his black dress being drawn to the floor. She screamed with fright, but it kept crawling slowly in front of the front door, not caring about her at all. And she eventually realized that it was a dream when she soon awoke. The next day, she, of course, got frightened and went to see the shaman lady with my mom. As soon as she told her own story, the lady said something with such a creepy, cold voice. Your son will die soon.
Oh!
And there's no way to save him. You can't change the fate. She got more terrified with anger and got up from her seat hurriedly. But then the shaman said to my mom, and your son will be safe. In the end,
Damn.
they had no choice but to just come back vacantly. A few days later, the four of us were on our way back from the market as usual.
Bro, don't
By
tell
the
me
time
he
we
actually
reached the
died.
entrance of the apartment, my friend suddenly ran into the apartment first, saying he had to pee. And I saw the fruit truck parked in the corner of the apartment parking lot, so I ran over there and started to beg my mom to buy some fruit. As she was not about to buy me fruits at all, she just persuaded me to go home quickly. However, somehow I kept wanting those fruits so badly, so I tried not to go back home, standing in front
This
of the
man
truck.
threw a tantrum.
My friend, who already just went up to his house, stuck his head out from the railing in the hallway.
Oh, man.
Then he shouted loudly, saying that the house was locked. After seeing his mom take the key out of her bag, my friend came down again right away. And as soon as he ran towards the apartment
Chill, bro.
entrance,
Look both ways.
it was the very moment. He was hit by a big van suddenly that rushed from the other side. I don't remember because I didn't see the very moment clearly, but it is said that his whole body flew away with a loud crash. And of course, he died instantly on the spot. I've been thinking so far that my friend had died because his mom had dreamed of the angel of death. But my mom later told me something shuddering. Do you remember how high the corridor railing was then? It was just as high as an adult's chest. It still gives me goosebumps when I think of the moment when he got his head out of the railing.
Damn, bro, that's sad. Lucid
This
dream.
is a story that I read somewhere. Have you guys ever heard the term lucid dream?
You spelled it
Well,
wrong, first
it's a
of all.
dream where you can do whatever you want while being aware that you are still dreaming.
Yeah.
In other words, it's a dream.
I've experienced a
with
few of those in my
clear
lifetime.
consciousness. But what is
Hey, but look, just so you guys know, when you lucid dream, yes, it's a good experience, but there also comes like negative side effects to it. Like you could also go into sleep paralysis often, you know, when you lucid dream. So be careful when you guys do that, all right?
scarier is that there are people who can literally invade other people's dreams.
I wish they would.
Okay, so here is how the story starts. There was
I don't know about people, but I know other things can invade you while you sleep.
someone who was experiencing a lucid dream while he was sleeping. All of a sudden, someone else appeared in his dream and shot him.
Oh!
It was so vivid. He could feel the pain of being shot, and he bled quite a bit. Then the stranger approached him, and he asked him a question. How does it feel to die in your dreams?
Ooh. The toilet.
I know, this is not a scary story, but it's about a dream I had when I was young. In my dream, I was at home drinking water when suddenly I had the urge to go to the restroom. So I ran towards the bathroom. But when I opened the door, about 100 doors were in front of my eyes. All the doors were locked, except for the last one. So I opened the doors one by one. I finally entered the last door, which was the restroom, and I felt relieved and happy while I was peeing. However, while I was peeing for a while, it was kind of weird. It felt really uncomfortable and wet. And when I woke up, I realized that I just urinated on my blanket.
Oh, it was a dream.
Anyway, I was shocked, but also generally happy back then, so it didn't really bother me.
Okay. The roller coaster.
My older sister's body was weak, so she experienced sleep paralysis often.
You
She
see what I
used to
mean?
dream a lot too, and once she told me the most horrible dream. In her dream, she went to the amusement park and rode a roller coaster with her friend. They sat in the back, and as soon as the roller coaster went up quickly, people in front of them suddenly died without any reason.
Oh my god.
My sister and her friend were really scared. They were going to get off right after the ride, but it didn't stop and kept going again and again. And people were still dying right in front of their eyes. Then it was my sister's turn to die, but suddenly she heard the cuckoo clock in our house ring 4 times.
That's not sleep paralysis.
It was
That's just a
4
nightmare.
a.m. Well, the story is not finished yet. She tossed and turned for a while and then fell asleep again. Then she started dreaming again. She had the same exact dream. She was panicking. Suddenly, the guide grabbed her shoulder and whispered in her ear, "Don't run away. Now it's your turn." And the roller coaster moved.
It's not
again.
sleep paralysis,
Her
bro.
friend
Sleep paralysis
fell
is
down
when you can't
first
move.
and broke her arm. And when it was my sister's turn to fall, she miraculously woke up from the dream. 2 days later, my sister's friend called her and said that she hurt her arm while in school.
Oh,
She was
shoot.
in art school and had scratched her arm terribly with some type of sharp tool. It really creeped us out.
Ugh. That's not sleep paralysis, though. Sleep paralysis is when you're laying in your bed, you're awake, Or no, how should I say? You're still dreaming, but you think you're awake.
I used to live in a
and you
small
can't
house
move.
located close to a large town. I always read the newspaper every morning when I woke up, and one day I saw the article that one man from the same town I live had been missing for almost 4 months. The guy had a large scar from his left ear, the mouth, and over to the right ear. I thought I had seen something like that in a horror
The
movie
Joker?
before.
What the heck?
After a few more months later, another man was found murdered not far away from our house.
Oh man.
The police kept searching for the criminal. However, they could not find any evidence. I was paranoid about that incident, but soon I eventually forgot about it. About another month later, one night, I was about to sleep in my room. I was the only one who had a room downstairs at that time, and I used to sleep with my window open because I get hot often.
Okay.
That night, I fell asleep early. However, a loud noise from outside my window suddenly woke me up again. It sounded like someone threw a ball or something like that on the wall beside my window. My bed was right in front of the window, so between me and the window was pretty close to me. I couldn't see the outside as the black curtains were blinding the windows, but I could definitely see that there was something behind it. Suddenly, I heard a small dripping sound from the window to the floor. Being frightened, I slowly opened my cell phone and turned on the flashlight.
What'd you see,
And
bro?
there was blood dripping to the floor. I immediately pulled the curtains open, and there was a knife stained with lots of blood on the windowsill.
Oh, the killer's there.
And
Oh
there was
my
someone
God.
outside. It was pretty dark so that I couldn't see his face clearly,
Take the knife.
but I could recognize those scars. It was the same man that was missing for months. He was standing there and just watching me with a blank stare. And I noticed that he had cut his scars open widely again with the knife. I quickly grabbed the knife, went to my parents' room, and showed it to my dad without saying words. Dad immediately called the cops, and they ran toward my room, but when we looked outside the window again, he was already gone. After the cops had arrived, they didn't find any trace of him. And now it's been 2 years since then.
Did you see him again?
But still, nobody has found the man yet.
Oh my gosh.
Who was that man?
Who cares?
Why
You're
was he
alive.
doing that outside my window without doing anything harmful to me? It remains still a mystery.
3 short, scary stories. The Whisperer.
This happened when I was in 4th or 5th
oh
grade.
my gosh.
It was just
I'm
a typical
done, bro.
day.
I'm done.
My friend's parents were working, so I went over to my friend's house and we played together. It was around 1 p.m. I was packing up to go to the academy when my friend suddenly grabbed my arm.
Hey, bro, don't be touching me.
Can't you just stay with me until my parents come home? However, I was sure that my mom would scold me if I missed the academy, so I told my friend I'd stop by again afterwards and then left. I was on my way back to my friend's house around 4 p.m., but when I reached his house, there were policemen next to it. I could see some officers and other people around the
Oh,
area.
man,
It
don't
turned
tell me
out that
something
there was a
happened to
married
homeboy,
couple living
bro.
there, and the wife committed suicide while her husband was on his way to work.
Shoot.
After that, while I was walking home with my friend so that we could play at my house, I suddenly got scared. So I asked, "Why did you tell me not to go to the academy earlier?" Then my friend said that he heard a woman's voice through the wall while we were playing at his house earlier. And this is what my friend told me. The woman said, "I wanna die. I 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 wanna die." For some time, I used to try to experience a past life, but I'd always fall asleep whenever I
Why
tried
do I keep
to.
watching these things, bro?
One day, I tried to experience my past life. As soon as I woke up in the morning, I fell asleep again. I usually either don't dream or remember my dream after waking up, but this time my dream was so vivid. In my dream, I was walking up the stairs, and there were tons of flowers and grass on both sides. So I kept walking up the stairs, and I was excited. But then a man came down the stairs. He was handsome, but aside from his looks, I felt a little scared of him. I could see that all of his clothes were black and dull. The man walked towards me, so I tried to pass him with my eyes looking down. But then he suddenly said, "You have no past life, and this isn't where you're from," he said while shoving me.
Who cares, bro? Get out of
I
my
woke up
dream.
at that moment, but I still vividly remember the feeling of him pushing me. After that, I stopped trying to experience my past life.
Sleepwalking.
My brother used to suffer from a serious sleepwalking problem.
That's scary,
The
bro.
problem is gone now, but just 2 years ago,
I heard that you can't
he
wake
would
them
wake
up,
up every
too.
night, knock
just
on the
gotta walk
door of
'em
his
back.
bedroom, and walk alone. That was his creepy habit for a while. One day, my parents went on a trip, and my brother and I were home alone. That night, I started to hear a tapping sound on the door while I was sleeping in my bedroom. When I opened my eyes, I noticed that it was coming from outside the door. So I opened it, and my brother was standing in front of my door.
Eyes.
He was looking
Blood
down at
gushing
me without
red.
blinking an eye, and all of a sudden, he smiled. His skin looked so pale because he was sick at the time. It was horrifying. I ran to my bedside to call my mom, but my brother came into the bedroom, started to slowly turn around in circles, but suddenly stopped. Then he started whispering into the air. "Don't do it. I'm sorry. Sorry. Don't. I'm sorry.
What are you
I'm
on?
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." I was so scared of him that I started to cry. Murmuring for about 10 minutes, he suddenly said, "Shut up, you little brat." And then he fell down right on the spot. My mom still didn't answer the phone. I rushed to my brother's room, locked the door while crying to myself, and tried to fall asleep. Maybe it was around 3 a.m. I suddenly heard someone trying to open my brother's door, but it
no.
sounded like someone's head was banging on the door. Thinking that it was my brother, I held my breath, and then it was quiet. Thank goodness, I'll be safe here until the morning, I thought at first. But after about an hour, I needed to go to the toilet so badly. I didn't hear anything outside the door, and my brother seemed to be asleep again. So I took a deep breath, opened the door, and tried to get back quickly. My brother, he was crawling around on all fours in the living room. Not on his knees crawling on the floor. He was moving around with both hands and feet on the floor.
Was he
and
going
his
on the
face
ceilings
was
too?
buried between his hands. I didn't even scream when I saw that bizarre figure of my brother. He was crawling in the dark living room. There wasn't a single light, and I think that was the most fear I've ever experienced in my life. While I was just shivering without moving an inch, I met his eyes and he looked like a dead man, as if he took some kind of drug. I snapped out of it when I saw his eyes. Then I ran back into the room, locked the door again, cried, and finally fell asleep. The next morning, I went outside and asked my brother about the night before, but he didn't remember anything.
This man is tweaking, bro.
No way. What for? He said he couldn't remember
Jay,
anything
you was
at
crawling
all,
on
no
the
matter
ceiling
how
like
many
a
times
roach.
I asked him. That was the most frightening experience I've ever had.
Hell nah. I saw myself die that day. Whoa.
So, where should I begin my story?
From the beginning.
First of all, I recently got a job as an intern at a small company while attending a special high school. And from school, I had a friend who I hated most. He always spread false
my bad.
rumors, making my friends turn on each other, and never was sorry for
So
what
why
he had
are
done
you
wrong.
his friend?
Well, he was already a celebrity at that time. But this dude and I eventually got a job at the same company. Because I had the complete opposite character of him, we had a lot of fights at school. However, after I came into the company, I tried to control myself as much as I could. and understand him no matter how much he said stupid things. My friends ended up calling me Buddha. But the incident eventually happened 2 weeks after my first day of work.
Okay.
I can't tell you the specific details to protect the company's privacy, but his mouth was absolutely a disaster. Our school teachers had to come to the company. We both had to have a face-to-face talk with the executive director, and we even had a call from the education office. I got so
what?
angry.
Wait, what? Bro, you're a grown-ass man. Handle your business, bro. You don't need teachers coming here to defend your back. Especially against some dude you used to beef with in high school, bro. Just tell him what's up.
I couldn't bear this stupid situation anymore. I ran down to the first floor material storehouse, confirmed that there were no people, and spat out all kinds of curses calling out his name. Shit, I'm gonna blow off your head, you son of a... But it was the biggest mistake of my life. The warehouse used to be a place where people didn't come very often. But when I looked back casually, he was there.
What's up, bro?
He was
Confront
just
him.
staring at me. My heart was pounding,
Confront
and I
him.
felt like my head all stopped. Holy
Tell
crap.
him what's up.
There was a bleak silence between us, and I could feel that awkwardness in my bones.
Fade him, bro.
But soon he just turned around and then went out of the warehouse.
Over there
Feeling
spreading
sorry,
rumors,
I
bro,
thought
like
he
we
got
in
hurt
third
feelings,
grade.
so I followed him. I called his name several times, but he never looked back and just walked down the hall. At first, I felt sorry, of course, but come to think of it, it was literally all his fault, and he had a responsibility to fix this problem. So why should I apologize to him while being ignored by him? All of a sudden, I started to be outraged at him. I stopped there and I screamed at his back. He suddenly stopped walking, and at that moment,
Okay,
I
what's
was
up?
like, oh shit. You know, I mean, we're still working for the same company
What's
right
up?
now, and I can't make a mess of my plans in just 2 weeks. So I apologized to him to ease the mood by calling my friend's name again. Then he turned his head slowly, and, oh, well, I still can't forget that creepy memory until right this moment, writing about this incident. To tell the truth, I'm about to go crazy. His neck slowly turned toward me. You can believe it or not, his body was standing still in the same position, but
Oh,
only
dear
his
God.
neck slowly began to turn.
Oh, dear God.
A loud crunch sounded in the hallway, as if his neck bone had broken. And I just watched it, blankly. He was staring at me with his mouth closed, and his neck turned slowly and slowly.
Oh!
As he turned his neck, the skin around his neck began to twist. And when he finally turned around for about a turn and a half, his skin tore with a tremendous sound. The blood rose like a fountain, and his neck dropped on the floor with a loud thump. Then his head rolled towards me.
Oh, you gonna get
and
blamed for
stopped
that.
at the tip of my foot.
You gonna get blamed for that.
Looking down, I could see his head showing with all his teeth, and he was smiling brightly at me. When I saw that horrific head like a broken tomato, all the cells in my body were screaming to get away from there as soon as possible. It was someone's footsteps that broke the silence that seemed to last forever. And only then I screamed frantically. My colleagues told me later that they could hear my voice on the second floor. Well, I can't imagine how loud it was. Anyway, I could feel someone shaking my body violently not long after. The next thing I knew, the executive director, the section chief, and everyone in the company were looking down at me with a surprised look on their face in the hallway. I was sitting on the floor before I knew it, and he was gone already.
Damn, got
I
him,
was
bro. You
taken
about to
the
get
hospital right
fired.
away that day because I spit blood on my hand while coughing. I couldn't remember how big I screamed. And while I was explaining the whole story at the hospital, I heard something incredible. One of my colleagues told me that my friend was working in his place at the time, and he was even so busy that he never came down to the warehouse on the first floor. I couldn't believe it. Eventually, I took a week off from work and got a psychiatric consultation. And 5 days have passed since then. I heard that he was dead, On the fifth day, the
Damn.
director came in early in the morning and opened the door of the company as usual. While he was working in the office on the second floor, he heard a loud bang in the hallway. And when he went outside, he found my friend had hit his head on the marble floor, and it was all smashed. He died just like that.
Oh.
Later, when the director checked the CCTV at the police station, he found that my friend quietly climbed the stairs while he went into the office and closed the door. He just stared downwards for a while and jumped off.
Jump, bro. Damn.
I guess the director must have been shocked. He eventually had to go to a psychiatrist for a while.
I don't blame you.
When I came back to the company,
Shit died
there
right
was
in front
only
of your
silence
face.
inside the company, which was unusual. Anyway, I was just playing with my cell phone while I was writing this, and I just got a call from the chief. He asked me if I came down to the first floor on Saturday morning while I was on my alternate work.
Hell
I
no.
was working on the second floor in the first place, and I couldn't go down to the first floor until lunchtime. So I told him I didn't. But then he said something strange.
Bro, get up out of that job,
He
man.
was smoking in the outdoor parking lot that day. Then he suddenly turned his head toward the warehouse window on the first floor. He said that I was standing inside and staring at him quietly in the dark warehouse. He continued to say that I looked at him for a while and then disappeared. At first, he didn't want to say anything hasty, but he finally called me thinking about my friend who died a few days ago.
And you
Well,
still
to be
call
honest,
him
I'm
your
in a
friend,
panic
bro?
right now. I mean,
You're
I've calmed
too
down
nice
to
of a
some
person.
extent, but I'm still scared. There's something I didn't reveal while writing earlier. I remembered it just now.
What?
When I'd seen my friend's fallen head that day, I actually saw the face coming toward me. It was neither my executive director nor the section chief. It was
him.
me. I could see my body walking toward me with only my head turned back. So, the reason I screamed was not that I saw my friend's fallen head. I screamed at myself. My parents have gone on a trip right now, so there's nobody at my house right now. Now, what should I do?
You know how to tell good stories, bro. I gotta give it to you, man. I gotta give it to you, dog. Alright, y'all. Thank y'all for tuning in so much, man. Appreciate it. Thank you guys for even clicking on the video. You guys know that means a lot to me. If you guys really like this video, make sure to hit that thumbs up real quick. Also, if you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, man. It literally takes like 1 second, bro. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, alright? Also, turn on those notifications to let you know whenever I do drop. Alright, boys? Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in so much, man. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, follow me on Twitter, boys. Stay tuned for tomorrow's episode. Again, if you guys really like this episode, man, hit that thumbs up, and I'll do a double upload tomorrow. Alright, y'all boys. Thank you guys for tuning in so much, man. Appreciate it. Stay safe, stay healthy out there. And I'm out.
Panic. I'm thankful for my life and I can take this shit for granted. I'm from a different breed, like I'm from a different planet. They keep me where it hurt, but your boy's still standing. It's easier to fly, but the real skill landing. And if you ever cross me, I don't believe in second chances. I might just show some love, but I don't believe in no advances. I need it up front, cause you don't know my circumstances. I spend my life